This is a book review of Captain America. Captain America lives again because, of course, he was a character from the 1940s as well as the 1950s, even though the origin, etc., and all the various reasons are changed completely. He was stuck in an ice block, which is completely daft. But I guess it made sense back in the 60s. Found by Submariner. But the first story is the Human Torch one, and the Human Torch one in Strange Tales, and it says there's a surprise ending at the end. So I'm not going to say what the surprise ending is, though I expect you can guess it. But it's a good story. You've got obviously Sue Storm and the Human Torch. And the next story is the classic Avengers 4, where they discover Captain America. They find him floating in the sea and bring him in. What a coincidence! Of course. If they hadn't found him, it would have been the Defenders. He would have joined the Defenders. So good story with Submariner again. Submariner turned up quite a bit in these early stories. Then you've got another story, which is a slightly odd one, where you've got Iron Man and Captain America. That's in the Tales of Suspense. The next story is Tales of Suspense, featuring, this is where it properly starts, this book. Iron Man and Captain America. Big news starting with this issue. 2 big features for the price of 1. Well, okay. It's really still exactly the same as it was the months before. You just had some short stories and stuff. Now, of course, got Captain America, which is, of course, brilliant. Sensational new Captain America. And I loved it. Really good first story. Brilliant one where, of course, it's he's in the Avengers East Side Mansion. You've got Jarvis, of course. And you've just got a very non-entity group of thugs that try and take him on in the first one. But it's still a good story. Next story, Army of Assassins. Very similar story to the first one, actually. The next story is very similar, but instead of set in New York, etc., Strength of the Sumo. It really didn't get a, what's the name on this? You got the sumo character, obviously, that super strong, and Captain America, of course, beats him. Don't I'm surprisingly there. But the next story is really good. Well, actually, no, I was going to say the next story is good. The story's a bit later. The next issue is slightly better. This one is Breakout in Cell Block 10. And it's basically a thing as a prison breakout. And, of course, Cap is there to sort things out. There's actually quite a few scenes that look very similar to the earlier stories. But the next one is where you've got Bucky. You've actually got Bucky. Now, these are all set in the war period. And they're good. You've got where obviously Bucky. Now, that actually does follow the storyline of basically of how he started, to a degree anyway. And I really love that. So actually, when I first got this, when I first started in reading comics years and years ago, I didn't know anything about the Golden Age comics and Captain America and Bucky, etc. So these comics, to me, were slightly confusing. You suddenly look at them and go, why are they all set in the wartime? Anyway, that was King Size Annual #1, Captain America. Brilliant annual. I love that. Then you've got, there was a couple of stories as well. They did Sandar and Omar. Now, I honestly thought these were Golden Age stories. I know. Agent 13, etc. And Red Skull. Again, I was not aware. Obviously, I realised later that was obviously not the case. But you've got the fantastic origin of the Red Skull. And I loved that. Really classic origin of. And you've got another story. So there's a whole sequence of about 4 or 5 of these ones set in the war period. And then it settles down. So the Captain America story changes. It's back to a more conventional story. But there's a lot of war one. Now, I don't know why. Maybe it was... There's an element of course, Sergeant Fury was, and his Howling Commandos was out at the time. So maybe there was a sort of connection there, sort of cross-selling aspect to that. Don't know. Just seems odd to put lots of, especially just introduced Captain America lives again. And then you spend 5 or 6 stories set in the war. I suppose giving a bit of background, maybe. Anyway, you've got these inventor, obviously you've got that Red Skull is using. But there's another one actually. It's weird. When I say 6, it's probably even more than enough 10. When You Lie Down with Dogs. Great titles. So you've got the stories here of, but then it leads on to a story that did actually. We've got the Sleeper. Now the Sleeper story turned up quite a lot. I don't know how many Sleepers. One time I think it was only about 3 or 4 of them. Then there's another one, and then there's another one. I think there's probably the Cosmic Cube Sleeper that they worked out. I have no idea. The Sleeper obviously awakens, etc. The Final Sleep. They were good stories. I really did enjoy the Sleeper story. However daft it was in the end. 30 Minutes to Live. You got Batroc, and that's actually got a lovely bit in the story. He actually he meets someone again, so good story. Of course, he searches for his past again. And again, you got more war stories. It really did keep going back to the war in this. And then, of course, we go on to the brilliant, but in a sense, really was the start point for the Infinity Gauntlet. Obviously, some people say, no, of course it wasn't. But it was, because it's them, the story of them. And you've got this initial them story, advanced ideas, mechanics, of course. And that led on to the Red Skull and the Cosmic Cube, which, of course, the Cosmic Cube then, knocking my mic over the place, went on to, of course, to be for Thanos. And then that led on to the Infinity Gems and Infinity Gauntlet, etc. So it was like so this story is quite an important one, I think. And this was a brilliant. The Cosmic Cube was just, wow. Red Skull Supreme. I mean, literally, he says, there is nothing that he can't do. Literally, he can do anything other than actually just be sensible. Really? You have the Cosmic Cube. The first thing all you're doing is you're going to do stupid things with it. Why not just get like infinite knowledge of the universe, sort of learn a little bit and then decide to do some things? No, I'm just going to do some stupid ideas. Very baffling. But then again, the Adaptoid. I love that. Again, that was an AIM/them storyline. And I like the Super Adaptoid. He calls it Adaptoid initial parts of this story. But he's a great character. You got the Tumbler. Now, the Tumbler's a bit of a weird one. You see, he's sort of, not going to say anything about the story, but it's an odd story, that one. But you got the Super Adaptoid, where he can get powers of the various things. You've got him sort of like with the wasp's wings. You've got him at Goliath size. You've got now at this point, of course, thing is, it's always sometimes he seems to be able to get abilities, then other times he doesn't. Sometimes he can get it. So Batroc again, and that's a real good yarn. But then you go into some brilliant Gil Kane. I love Gil Kane's artwork. Gil Kane to me is one of the best artists ever, and I'm the Swordsman and Power Man. And of course, you've got a certain individual behind the scenes. And Men Shall Call Him Traitor. They're getting some real great yarns at this point. And then into AIM again. Good old AIM. And MODOK. And To Be Reborn. Those are good stories. Actually, brilliant. This is just an absolutely superb selection. And there's some brilliant some Kirby artwork here that's just superb. I love it. Then you got some at the back, some bonus material. You got the Tumbler. This one's original art, Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers. Also original art with Jack Kirby again, and also some Gil Kane original art. So just brilliant. Captain America.